Hi, this is Feehan again from the ECG Armory. Today on episode 8, we're going to do some work on the helmet. I have a helmet here from Walt's Trooper Factory. I think in one of the previous videos I'd already started working on the ears. And just to show you some of the finishing work that I've done on them, the ears started out, as you know, on a plate, and then we did a rough cut and got them to this state where they were still a little too thick and they didn't have these parts cut out. What I've done since then is just trim these down a little further and also put in a curve there, that little S curve there, that we're going to try to get to match the actual curvature of the helmet. But we really can't do that until it's finalized and we have it together. So I'm going to wait on finishing this curve until we get the exact dimensions of how it fits on the helmet. Hopefully I didn't already do too much on them. If I did, I still have these other two backup ones that I could start finishing off if we have to do that. What I did to do the S-curve here is cut it out with a scissor and then go over it with a Dremel with the sanding tool, and you just go through that, and I'll go through that a little more as we try to get the exact shape. I'm going to pencil it out and then take off just enough material so that it does fit the curve perfectly. So we'll do that a little later, hopefully in this episode. For now, what I wanted to start on was the rough trimming of the helmet. And the helmet comes with a lot of extra material. I'm going to start trimming that out, and I have another finished Shadow Trooper helmet here. This was one that I got from another member. That was pretty well finished. I think it was from an Novos kit, and it has helmet padding on it, and it has everything. So really, this is like my safety helmet. If I screw this one up, I already have this one. And this one I did in the grayish colors. There's a couple of different options on the CRL on how you can do these stripes, what colors you can do the teeth and the drops. On this one I chose to do kind of a gray scheme. On this new one I'm hoping to do silver, because the silver, this one had bubble smoke lenses. This one's going to have silver mylar lenses. So I want to do the teeth, the Voker here, and the stickers, the teeth and the Voker here in silver, and the stickers are going to be the same muted black that I did on the tube stripes here, and these tube stripes are also going to be muted black, because in the CRL you can do this this configuration, or you can do silver, but if you do the silver you're supposed to use muted teardrops and muted stripes like this, the black, flat black on the shiny black. So I'm going to do a similar thing to what I did on this helmet for the tube stripes. Now what I'm going to do is, you can see here there's the weather stripping here, the S stripping here, this rubber piece that you're supposed to put on the bottom. I'm going to take this off just for now, just to show you how much has to come off. If you look at how it comes, there's a lot of extra material. You basically have to cut it right down to that curve around here and take off a good, couple of inches off the entire thing all the way around, which I'm going to do. Also on the top brow piece, we want to cut it right where this ripple is, a little above this ripple that you see in the plastic here. We want to get rid of any of that extra material because you really don't need that. And we want to leave enough meat here to fold under this top crown piece, because when we're all done, this top crown piece is going to go on top of here. We're going to connect it at the ear points with some screws, and then put the earpieces over to kind of cover that seam. So we got to get all those parts lined up and make them work together. Also on the crown piece, we have to take off a little bit of material around the edges just to make it even. And we have to take off a little material on the frown, where the frown goes. This is a rubber piece that sticks on the top here. We're going to take off a little material there to make that straight and make sure it's functional. We don't have to worry about it too much because it will be covered with plastic, but I want to make sure it's even all the way around. So I might just snip a little bit off of that with some scissors. The other piece we have to do on the helmet is also cut out the eyes and the teeth, and we're going to start on that process as well. What I like to do here is cut with an X-Acto and then break out the pieces. I might use a drill as well to drill some holes to help pop them out. And for the teeth, I'm going to drill some holes, and I'm going to use some files to file down the teeth individually. So let's get started with this. Let me get my scissors ready. I'm going to just start cutting around the edges here and just start getting it a little trimmed out. Let me start from the top here and just trim around this ridge, because I want to get it so that there's enough area here for the for it to fold into the other helmet, but I don't want this whole extra ridge here. I want to cut it right at that ridge. So I'm going to start from here and just start going around. And this you don't have to be too concerned with. You just want to make sure you're leaving enough extra. If you look in this helmet, you can see there is a little extra, probably about an inch, that goes up into the other helmet, and that we could also secure with some glue when we get to that point. So I'm going to go right along this ridge. I might switch to my straight scissors here. Snip this where I'm at here, and then continue the cut. Again, you don't have to be too concerned. I am going to sand that a little bit, but I'm not going to be too concerned because nobody's going to see this whole part in here. Getting a little thick here. I'll snip off another piece. I'm going to start from the other end now so I can meet in the middle. Again, I'm cutting right along that ridge, leaving a good 2 or 3 inches because I do want it to have a spot that I could glue it or tape it while I'm setting up the helmet itself. I'm going to snip this piece off here. And just finish that cut right across. So we got the top trimmed a little bit. Go over it with a sanding sponge just a little bit, just to make it a little smoother. Now we'll see if that's enough. If not, I can take off a little more because, again, the brow is going to go here, and the other crown actually meets up with this, so we don't have to worry about too much. The sides I'm going to leave as much as possible. I just want to get rid of that ridge because we can't do anything with this ridge here. And if you look at the other one, you can see that there's a straight line right down where it meets. And we're going to have to determine exactly how much we have to take off, but from this one I can tell you it's a good amount. It's about 2 or 3 inches, so we're going to try to keep to that and see if we can do the same thing here. For this I might even use the big scissors because I think I can do one straight cut right down. So let's see if we can do that. Again, I'm just trimming off the excess here and getting it so that the tube here is nice and flat. And I see there's a little vacuum form line here, so I might have to work around that as well. Hopefully that'll be hidden by the other piece, the front piece, when it connects. We might have to take off right to there. Let me see on this one where the break point was and kind of compare it, because I really am going to have to get rid of that piece. Let me take a look at this one. Yeah, I'm not happy about that because that's going to be hard to hide. That's going to be very hard to hide. So we're going to have to do our best. Hopefully we can hide that in the ears when we do the ears. I'm going to use the curved scissors to get around this curve here. I'll do it from this angle. Again, I'm going to have to try to hide that because that's a big vacuum form line there. And again, not too concerned with this. This is going to be hidden, but I am going to just quickly give it a quick sand. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Now I am using a little towel here because again, I really don't want to scratch the faceplate. This is a really, you know, the showpiece of the costume. You don't want to really get scratches on it, so I'm being extra careful trying to avoid scratches. Okay, so I've got down to there. I'm going to use the curved scissors just to get as close to the ridge there as possible and keep as much of this tube as I can because they're going to overlap with the crown piece. Again, if we have too much, that's fine, but you don't want to take away too much. Bump here. I'm going to leave that for now. I don't want to go too close because again the ears should cover that and we shouldn't even see that, so I want to leave a little bit of extra in there. Okay, now for the bottom we got to be very careful because this is all by eye and you got to just find the line, and I'm going to try to match what's on this other helmet because this is a pretty well built helmet, just to see what that shape is, and you can see it's a very different shape than what we have here. I'm going to get my pencil and see if I can replicate this line as best as possible on here, and then I'm going to cut that out. And I'm going to be pretty conservative, and then if I got to take off more, we'll take off more. But you got to start somewhere. Okay, so let's go back to this, and we'll do a cut with that and just see how that shape is shaping up here. Because this is going to be my opening, and if the opening's too small, it might be really hard to get your head around, but you want to make it so it does meet with the bottom. And when you put that weather stripping on the bottom, it looks appropriate. Cut this here. Cut this here. And I think I'll start from the middle here. And just cut right to where the Voker piece ends. And I'll start doing this curve here. I'll try to get this as smooth as possible. Again, this is going to be hidden by that S weather stripping piece, so I'm not too concerned with the jaggedness, but I do want to try to get it as smooth as possible. Yeah, that's going to be hard to get in there with the scissors. I think I'm going to have to use the X-Acto and get in there and see if I can make a little cut. Well, maybe I can make a little cut here. Yeah, I don't want to scratch it, so I'm going to get the X-Acto and see if I can make a line with the X-Acto and then break it off as delicately as I can here. Again, if I take off a little, I could always go back and take off a little more. Okay, I gotta get that to meet. Let me use the X-Acto to get a little more of a line here. Just making a line here to meet with where the other line was. Okay, I'm going to break that off. Make a cut here. Not bad. Got a good shape there. Gonna have to refine that a little bit with some scissors and maybe the X-Acto a little more. Now we'll try to go across here, the bow curve piece here. That's a pretty good opening. I'm going to, a little jagged. I have to go over that with the razor blade a little bit. Let me use my big razor blade. Try to smooth that out a little bit in some spots. Keep in mind, this plastic's a lot thinner than the body pieces, so you've got to be careful not to dig into this too much. I'll smooth out these edges a little bit. And where I have some hard edges, I'm just going to curve them a little bit just so I don't scratch myself here. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I think we're going to have to take off a little more. That's a good start, just to try to shape it up and see. So that's a good rough trim. We got the start of that curve that you can see here, and hopefully we can get it to meet up with the back. That's really the hardest part, is getting it to meet up. I think I can take a little more out of this corner and that corner, but we'll see as we get closer. And let's look at the back. The back, we're going to do a similar thing. I think I want to keep as much as I can on the bottom, because that's going to be hidden anyway by the black. Let me take a look at the front here and just see. It's a little uneven. You don't want it to be too uneven because you want it to lay flat. So I'm going to cut it a little bit. Let me see how much I want to go here. I don't want this dip here and then this other dip, so I'm going to just go across the front to see if I can get it a little straighter. Okay, let me see if I can take off any from the other side. And really, I'm only taking off a very small amount. Just try to even it out a little bit. Again, we don't have to worry about this too much because the black trim is going to go on there. So I'm going to actually get the black trim and just put it on there just to size it up. This is the trim that you put on the front. And it usually goes right from the back of the teardrop on the top here, this trapezoid, not the teardrop. It usually goes right from here to the other side, and you'll see what I mean when I put this on. But you try to put this on when you're sizing it up because you want to keep this extra space here for this piece, and we're going to have to trim that a little bit. And why this is like this, I don't know. I think I got to trim that a little more. This should go right to the end of the trapezoid. I'm going to trim this a little bit. Out of there, because I like to keep this right to the end of the trapezoid. Okay, put that all the way around. And that should land about there. I'm going to go ahead and cut this because I think we should have enough extra to make it the whole way. You don't want to cut this too short, so I might leave a little extra. Okay, I left a little extra which I might trim off, but just to size it up and see how it looks. Okay, let's just see how this is sizing up with the front of the helmet. You see the brow is going to lay right there, so we got to get these ears to connect on both sides while still keeping pressure on the brow, and that's a tough order. What I like to do is make sure the ends of the trapezoids are meeting up with the corners of the eyes, which I think they are right like this, and then we know where we have to place the first one. And these are lining up pretty good. I think we're going to have to do a little more trimming, but I will do that after we get it together. And let's see how this one lines up on this side. With the eye in the corner. Corner of the eye in the corner there. Okay, and that's lining up pretty well over here. I'm not liking that extra piece here, so but I might have to trim that down and try to hide that as best as I can. And that's going to just make it. That's going to just make it cover that. Should work. Okay, so while we're waiting to do that part, what I like to do is, while I still got the face mask off, a lot of people do it after the mask is already together. I like to do this part when the mask is still available, because that way I can get in here and do some internal shaving and cutting and stuff to make this a little easier. So what I'm going to do is just start cutting out the eyes, and I'm going to just carefully cut it with the X-Acto, and then I'm going to go inside and cut it with the X-Acto, and then I'm going to try to pop out as best as possible. In the corners, I'm going to probably have to use some filing tools to try to get it straight, but we'll get to that part. And again, being very conservative, just going along the line in the plastic. Trying not to go too far to hit anything else. Right to the corner. This part's tough. This is the curve here. I'm going to try to get around. It wasn't as tight as I wanted it. Let me get a little tighter to the edge here. I'm doing it right in the corner where the plastic meets and that ridge. A little dimple in there too. Make sure my blade is secure here. My blade was coming off a little. I'm going to do the other score line on this one. Curve around the side here. And being very careful not to get the actual plastic ridge, because I want to keep that ridge. I'm going to come around here and do this other part here. Okay, that's my initial score line again, and that's only going to be a start. What I'm going to do with the utility knife now is just cut right in the middle, make a line. It's going to make it easier to pop it out, I'm hoping, later. Going to make a line here. I'm using some pressure. making sure I don't accidentally go too far. Okay, now from the inside I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go around that edge and see if I can meet up with the other edge that I just made. Okay, that's a start. I'm just going to use my drill and drill a pilot hole here. Drill another hole here. Okay, I'm going to use that to kind of start pulling the stuff from the inside out. Now that's also how I'm going to do the teeth. On the teeth, you want to do the 4 on each side. So I'm going to just drill a pilot hole in each of the teeth very gently. Hopefully not get too much, and then I'm going to use that as a starting point to start cutting them out. I'll start from this little hole. For the big teeth, I'm drilling 2 holes. For the little teeth, I'm just using the 1 hole. Trying to be very careful not to miss. So those would be my pilot holes when I start going through. I'm going to start chipping away at that as well. Let me see if I can get any action on the eyes now that I got a hole there and a line. See if I do any pressing, if I start getting anything. Let me do another line from the top down. I did a line across. I'm going to do a line from the top down very carefully. See if I can start breaking out some of this. And it's going to be rough, but then you're going to go back with the filing tools to try to get it a little more straight. Okay, so I'm doing that to that hole. Same thing I'm going to do here. Again, trying to be careful not to accidentally get anything on the helmet itself. So I made some scoring lines there. Let me see if I can pop anything out yet. Might be difficult. I didn't go that deep. Might have to go back over it with the X-Acto just to make sure I'm deep enough here. I'll try to stay in the track. Yeah, this helmet is very thin around the edges, but these eyes are very thick. which is good, but hard to cut out. Just going back over the track again, trying to stay in the track without slipping. Good. Let me do this one again. Just now giving a little more pressure on that line. Pressure again, trying to be very careful. See if I got enough that I can start popping it out. Make another couple lines on the inside as well with the utility knife. Try to make it easier to pop this out. I got a little pop there. I'm just going to see if I can pop it a little out of here. Starting to give a little bit there. Okay, let me do a little more here. Very thick, but I think I got it. So what I did was made those cut lines, made a hole, cut around it, and now I should be able to start pushing my fingers in there and popping out from the front some of these pieces so I get the rough shape, and then I can go back over that with the filing tools and try to get that a little neater. It's already looking pretty good. You see the corner there, I'll have to get with a little X-Acto, but again, nice line to start with. This one is going to be a little harder. And there we go. There we go. And there. I'm going to take out the pieces. And again, we get a rough opening there that we can start working with and start just carving with the X-Acto, doing some shaving with the files and getting that down. Now the same thing with the teeth. Now that I got that initial hole, I can start going from the back here and try to start carving the little square pieces out, the little teeth pieces out as carefully as possible to square off that circle. And my X-Acto is not behaving here, it's starting to come loose again. And make sure it's tight. Just carving out a little teeth here. And really, I just want to carve them out enough that I can get my file in there, because basically what this is going to be is a filing job. I'm going to be filing them, and I might use that for the speed up video because it's going to take quite some time to do it right. I'm just chipping away at this, making the holes a little bigger. Trying to square it off a little. I think I got big enough holes now. I'm going to break out my filing tools. I have a whole set just for this purpose. And you can start doing some filing. Try to get that down to the place you want. Again, I might speed this up because this is going to take some time. So I go in here with the file. And just start filing it down until I get that teeth shape that I want. So I widen the holes a little bit, and I can get in there from the back and start cutting off some more material as well. So that's just a start, but it's getting there. And I'm going to work from the back, start cutting around with the X-Acto and the utility knife, and try to get that a little more even all the way around. I also will work with the bigger ones to start getting the eyes a little more shaped, and around the corners of the eyes. Like the corner here, I got to cut out a little more with the X-Acto. I'm just going to carve that out carefully. I get that corner. Smooth that out a little. This corner here, make sure that's rounded there. Okay, this one, get this corner with the X-Acto. Any little extra pieces here as carefully as I can. Just carving a little extra out, I see. The line wasn't exactly right. I'm trying to get those corners of the eyes a little sharper. There we go. Okay, now once I do that, I can use the sanding tools to try to sand that down a little bit, smooth it out. I might even use the big one here to save some time. Hold on. Being careful not to scratch the plastic and trying to keep it in there and do it from the back. It's looking very nice on the top there. Make sure I get this one the same. And for the curves, I do have a curved one. It's taken off some material, very small amounts, just to even it off. You see, I find this a lot easier with me being able to hold it in my hand and apply some pressure rather than doing this after it's assembled, which I see a lot of people do, which I don't understand that. Because I think it's much easier to control it when you have it in your hands like this. and just try to get rid of. I think we'll be in good shape. That's looking good, but there is a little bit in the corner here. I'm going to use the round one. Try to smooth out that corner by the eye. That's looking very good. Very smooth. I'm going to do the same to this one on the curve. It's looking very good. Now I'm just going to do the corner with the smaller tool here. And the other corner. Very happy with that. Some little extra shavings I'll get off from the back end, but that's some nice holes. Very nice and smooth. No scratches, which is great on the ridge, because I like to keep that ridge nice and shiny. Going from the back a little bit with some sandpaper and just smooth that out a little bit. So that's looking very good. Again, the teeth are going to be time consuming. I might do that as another video or just start working on them and show you the finished product, because we have to get from these holes to much larger holes, basically just keeping that shape, and I like to keep a little bit of that ridge, that curved ridge there, so that you can see the screen behind it. So that's going to be a little more time, and basically again it's just working with these various files. You could do it, you know, with a drill and try to drill them out. I think it makes too much risk of scratches. I just work it like this and just keep working it with different files until I get it down. It can take, I'd say, about a half an hour to an hour to get them to where you want them and to make sure that they're all open to where you need them. So I'm going to just work on that and continue on with that while I still have the helmet unassembled. So I'll probably put off the assembly to another video once I get those teeth knocked out. And then once you do the assembly, let me just do another rough assembly here. I'm going to look at the ears too and see where the ears are going to line up and see how well we're doing with that, because that's a whole other process. Let's see, so we're going to get this on here. We're going to drill a hole and put a rivet here to just secure it, and then we're going to put the rest of the screws when we do the ears. But let me just see where this is going to land. And this is our, make sure this is the right one. This is our one for this side. So what's going to happen is this is going to cover up that curve. This is going to come around here, and then this is all going to meet together, which right now seems almost impossible, but it does once you do some manipulation and some work here. Let me see. So that's going to go like that. The ear is going to go right there, and I'm going to have to work on that curve to make sure that curve is as tight as possible. Right now it's not so bad. You can see the curve pretty much meets there. I'm going to have to do a little sharper around the edge because I want this bottom part to reach right at the bottom and catch both pieces of plastic with the screw. So I'm going to have to work on that to make sure that that's going to happen. And we want to leave as little space as possible there. So I think the ridge is going to have to be made out a little bit more. And on the other side, let's see how that one's shaping up. So on this side, again, we want to get the eye about where the trap ends, the corner of the eye, and then see where this is all going to land. Okay, so this is going to land about here. Again, not happy about that piece sticking out, but we're going to have to do the best we can with that. This is going to land around here. I might have to trim this down a little bit to get this to fit, because this is not lining up very well. There seems to be a lot of extra and the angle is off. I'm going to have to do some hiding there. But the ear is going to go here and hopefully hide that ridge. And I think we'll get it. One way or another, we'll get that to squeeze in there with the screw. It's just going to be very, very tight, and I'm hoping I can capture everything. This is going to be the tough. This is definitely going to be the tougher side. So I'll probably do the other side first and then work that one as best I can. And what I like to do when I do it is we do use usually rivets for that first one. We use a rivet and just rivet gun it. I'm probably going to use a screw because I have had to make a few do it a few times just to make sure I hit the right spot. I may do it with the screw just to secure it while I check the other side. And if the other side doesn't line up, I can always make a slight change. Let me just make sure this is lining up with the tiers. That's lining up with the tiers. And make sure that we got it pretty tight. And I think that will work. It's just going to be a little tight, and we're going to have to really work it. But we're coming along. Very good. Okay, so that's about halfway through. Again, I'll finish off the teeth and then make that a little speed up video, and then we'll go from there. And we'll see you all next week, and hopefully do the assembly, or maybe we'll move on to assembling the arms and legs and other pieces so that we can get that started, and then we'll come back to the helmet and do the final assembly of that. Okay, thanks everybody.